Good morning, everyone. All right. My other platform isn't working, so I do the best I can with this one, which is what we look at in the green room day to day with scans and other things. But I don't really have set up for what we do here pre-market. But all right. So markets are kind of continue to be kind of dead. Hold on, let me switch things here. So I got the markets that we look at, the main markets that we look at to see what they're doing here pre-market. And while we see things are up a bit, we get the transports, but they're still just in the middle of the range, going nowhere. So just opening up on a positive note, big deal, unless you can clear resistance, which opens the door to moving higher or to the next level up above or down below. So, looking at the spiders here, where they're trading right in the middle, right, of going nowhere. Wrong charts. Why wrong charts? I'm just using TC2000. My other platform is a technical problem for the moment. Are you saying that these aren't up to date? Yeah. Yeah, we should get that fixed by tomorrow. So S&Ps, obviously below were last week and up above. Just a trading range. We'll get to the daily charts. Qs coming off the bottom there, which, technology ETF moved lower last week. A lot of things happening that suggest distribution, and we don't have the confirmation of a break of support yet, but that certainly seems like it's going to be in the cards. The Russell that looked like it was going to be able to get back up to the top of the range, well, that didn't happen, and that's just trading pre-market here in the middle of nowhere. So starting off the day, wait and see. The S&Ps made that new high failure, and we're poked above. You remember this day where we opened up, went down, all the way back up again, and it looked like it could clear the highs. Sound should be on. Sound is on. Okay. Let's see here. So you can see the daily bar, just inside day so far. And when I say almost every morning, this is the beginning. We don't know where it's going to end. But how much tighter can it get? The beginning of last week was, dead man walking, let's just say, flip back and forth, and then the whipsaw, and then, inside. And okay, today is what it is. Now, the transports, I think this is not correct. I think that's bad data right in there, but it's been making new all-time highs. So that's a big plus. The Russell, which certainly looked like it was getting up to the highs there, that gapped up and that failed, maybe whatever within the market, but it had this breakdown failure. And one of the things that I mentioned over the weekend, get my little drawing thing out here, was, we talked about this head and shoulders kind of a top, right? Now, it got nowhere near the bottom of that major support, but it resulted in a breakdown failure. And then it cleared these highs. So with that being said and done, this pullback should result in buyers willing to step up since it cleared this resistance. And they did that to some extent on Friday, but didn't get it very far. So waiting. What do we need to see? Well, one of the things that would get me thinking buy this would be some type of a failure to go to the downside that would support a bias that it could go up, because it would tell us without any doubt that institutional buyers are lurking below, and then they drove it back up again, and then that would be a long. So we'll see what unfolds today, of course. If on the other hand we get that should be a red bar, but if that's the case, well, then we're going down to the low. And so we're starting off this week, unfortunately, with a wait and see as to how things shake out. Now, the Q's been going sideways. And if you remember, on this day last week, I forget what was gapping up, but one of the, big stocks gapping up. It was positive. Markets were gapping up. And I'm like, why aren't the Q's making new highs? And it should have been coming out of this base, and it didn't. And so now we've got a very important line in the sand, and the S&Ps as well. Kind of, Friday's low, but lows are in the same place. So the more lows you have in the same place, the more of a key reference point it is. And we've got basically the whole week there. And so Thursday's low on the Qs, breaking below there. And so you got another level here, but got the high. And then again, it breaks here. You've got a retest and failure. This should not hold. And then it opens up the door to, well, there's nothing down below. You've got unfilled gaps. You got a little congestion there, but with a pattern of going sideways for almost 3 weeks, I think it would be unlikely that this would hold. Now, if we get a big green bar today, well, that shifts us back thinking, the trend is going to resume. Unfortunately, right now, who knows? We're just waiting, but this isn't a good sign. And looking at let's just go here. You look at the technology ETF with that big reversal, even though this is in an uptrend, it closed below this pivot low here. And so that's bearish with this, unless this does a miracle turnaround. I don't see the Qs making any kind of a move up toward new highs. And diamonds here. Look at intraday, what they were doing. They were up like a couple of 100 points before. Look, nothing. Wait, got to change this. I usually don't use this pre-market. All right. So top of the range, right, into all of these pivots up here. And so that's a mess. We're pretty much going to be sitting on our hands here for a little while at the open to see which way they go. Now, on the daily chart, this pulled back, hit the 20, bottoming tail bar, looked like, okay, get above there, and we're back up to new all-time highs. That didn't happen. So more wait and see. I don't know about that, Norbert. If it's a stage 3. And those of you that don't know what that means, just kind of a shorthand simplification of if something going up, down, or sideways within an uptrend, uptrend 1, 2 could be 3. That whole idea of what we taught years ago, which was if it was stage 3 being a top, was the thought was if it was wide and whippy, then the possibility was that it would be a top. Now, one of the things that we talked about last week was the fact that this was somewhat wide and whippy, not so much as what historically you would see at a top. And I said, we need to see things tighten up before this could have a meaningful move. And it did tighten up, especially, looking at the S&Ps, almost like as if it wasn't trading. And then when it attempted to go higher, it failed. So it still got all this support here. So I'm not going to change my bias to thinking, something much more bearishly until it violates some support, or at least we get a retracement that gets closer to this major support level. And you got a topping tail on the weekly time frame, but hey, it's in an uptrend. It's trading back and forth. Well, I know I just covered the Russell as far as that being a stage 3 that is wide and whippy. However, it cleared all of this resistance after breaking below these lows. So that turned into a breakdown failure. And then it popped up above the highs. So anything at this point in time is, hey, what's your best guess? What is that based on? So, things are up a whole bunch. They're a little extended, but so far everything's been going sideways. That is wide and whippy. But rather than this breaking to the downside and confirming this head and shoulders type of top, it traded up above the right shoulder, which begins to negate it, or it becomes, a more, let's call it, complex pattern, which is, I'll just call it a bigger mess. So if it comes down here, then we've got, a failure and another failure. And there's just a lot of uncertainty going on right now. Internals are neutral, Deb. They're not really telling us much of anything. I mean, sentiment, I mentioned in the advisory letter that historically it's at a bearish level, but it's been around there for a while, and the market's brushed that off. Other than its inability to continue to move higher. And breadth is neutral. So, with 3 weeks of running in place, longer for the Russell, you're not going to have breadth that is doing much of anything here. So, no matter where we look, it's incomplete information as to saying, hey, this is what our definitive bias would be. And as we go out to longer time frames, say looking at the Dow, hey, that's in an uptrend. Whatever it's consolidating, we'll assume that it's going to go higher until we get a violation of some major support. That's the factory work, and that's being objective. And who cares what the talking heads are on CNBC with all of their trend lines and extensions and whatever. The Russell has been lagging. The Russell, the Qs, the FANGs have been lagging. That's been going on for a while. That's a way of saying it. Bulls and bears are in a short-term stalemate. And, you see the same thing that I see with different money managers and whatever. They're all saying this economy is amazing, which they're measuring from, you want to call it a recession, that Corona collapse and so on, where everything was shut down. But kind of, let's just say it wasn't normal, right? The least of it, just say it wasn't normal for what happened. It wasn't like historically an evolution of interest rates were being tightened, which they were just before the Corona thing hit. The yield curve was getting close to inversion. So there was that element of it. But, this whole Corona thing, as it's surmised to have been, fabricated by, the Chinese, or maybe with a little help from the Democrats. In any event, things got shut down. It is what it is. And then the miracle recovery that ensued, which was kind of leads to think like, hey, when do you get a collapse like that all of a sudden virtually it's over? I don't know. The whole thing is BS. Anyway, so now markets recover. What's going on this year? The Qs continued to move up as they were stronger. They had this big drop. You got this bottom. You had the April rally, and it's consolidating. So let's forget what's going on in the world. And for the moment, the markets are consolidating after a correction. It's not like this thing has been rallying, and now it's going sideways, which is more historically, where you get the sideways move and then a break. But we do see rejections, right? Even on positive news, those earnings were positive, where this was rejected. Diamonds, not so much, a rejection that's so much, that's so obvious. And, the S&Ps, the more obvious rejection up there. And so these levels here are where there are large open interests of bearish bets, which may put a floor under things. So you'll see what 2150 does. And then obviously this one is lined up with all of this support. But the deeper this gets down to here, the greater the confirmation that this is a significant high point and a short-term top. Pretty simple, when you have a method that's simple without all the diagonal lines and all that. Anyway, what else? Look at TBT. Right, so this has been pulling back. The market liked that, didn't like the run up. This cleared the pivot high. So this is in a weekly uptrend. And so this could be the beginnings of a turn. And this is how we utilize multiple time frames to say, our longer term bias is up, but our shorter term bias was slightly bearish to neutral as this was trending down. Now it breaks above the prior pivot high, which is a trend change from down to sideways, which is now we can begin to look for reversals for a buy setup. So should this begin to turn back up, well, that's another reason to think, hey, the sell in May thing, maybe it works out this year. If this continues to move lower, which you should have alerts set down here, right? Know whether it's coming down to support or whether it's coming back up to Thursday's high, to know which way interest rates are going, since the markets are focused on that. And I'll tell you, at some point this will change, meaning, well, it maybe get more intensely focused on. But what I want to say is I can remember, and I don't remember what year it was, but virtually on a minute by minute basis, the equity markets would move based on what the bond market was doing. And then all of a sudden it stopped. No one cared anymore. No one spoke about interest rates and bonds, and that disconnected. So at this point in time, this is something to keep an eye on. TBT versus PST, Greg, which one more indicative of inflation? Well, just interest rates alone, Deb, that's one thing to keep an eye on as far as inflation goes. I don't know what PST, I haven't looked at that. Oh, so the shorter ones. So that's been going up, but you didn't mention the shortest, 1 to 3 year. So this is one, you see I've got a horizontal line here, what I have an alert on. So I've mentioned in the past the 3-month interest rates, right? IRX, but this ETF is 1 to 3 year. And if this one starts to perk up, that becomes more of a signal that the markets think the Fed is going to tighten or they're contemplating it, because this is going to lead. So this is something to keep an eye on. But as far as inflation goes, interest rates are one thing. Look at the price of wood. And I just read, what was it today? They said the price of a home, and they didn't say what size home, increased by $36,000 because of the price of wood going up as much as it has. Um, and then, looking at commodities, like corn, look at the price of corn. Right? It's going vertical. Look at the price of oil and going up. So how is that fellow who was on TV last week say inflation is not a problem? I mean, we look at the charts, we see the increase of costs. Go fill up your car with gasoline. Um, you eat cornflakes. You know, inflation is out there and growing. Yeah. All right. I guess I'm out of sync here a little bit with my other platform being down, but gold pull back here, but downtrend on the weekly. So this could be the beginning of a turn. It cleared these highs. And similarly, it's getting late, but biotech, traded up, cleared some highs. Marijuana cleared some highs. Solar went up and came back down again. So there's still money rotating into the beaten down stuff. And this whole inflation thing is putting caps on technology. So might as well raising the minimum wage. Well, they could, what? I mentioned a week or two ago about the McDonald's that's handing out $50 to come out for an interview because people are staying home collecting paychecks. I mean, most of you in the green, how I feel. This new establishment is on a road to destroying this country. And let's see what happens. Well, yours, Dan.
Good morning. Yeah, and another thing about the Fed, I just don't understand why he's so gung ho on keeping interest rates like they are until 2023. And then he says until we, recoup, we get employment better. And there's 8 million unemployed, I think Barron said. And then I'm thinking about that. Well, they're going to stay unemployed when you sit there and give them money all day long. I read articles, people are having a hard time getting a job, and then other articles say we can't find workers. So who's right? That's, uh, but when I woke up here and saw the diamonds up, the party continues. We said, we look like we can break up or out. We have all long positions in our swing letter and our advice in the weekly options trader. We have a couple of put spreads, and this is our only call spread. We did it Friday right on this red bar at 340 breakdown. So this week I'm going to keep an eye on. If it takes out a 30-minute high, then we'll leg into a condor. Everything else looks fine. Actually, we have a put spread on Netflix. It's gapping down a little bit here, but that's because Qs are weaker. On Tesla I had as a condor. It's gapping down a little bit here. And I sent out a telegram just to hold off. I'll keep an eye on it. Let's look at some gappers here. Thomas, Lulu stole. Lulu. That was a breakout failure. Not sure what you're wanting to do with it now. Stole. There was a Barron's article I guess was talking positively, I think, about some of the steel stocks, but I see no pattern there myself. XLY. Yeah, XLY breakout looks great. CIN for Jake. It's, gap breakout. It's a running uptrend. Let's see. Gilt. I was going to give this as a 30-minute high. It's a nice little gap trade from a bottoming pattern, but it has earnings tomorrow, I think. But otherwise, that's a nice gapper. You still could get a day trade out of it. Nothing there. LI, they had some of these car things were getting, they have their sales count, so LI, XPEV. So if this gap holds and takes out a 30-minute high, then I like this as a W pattern in a downtrend. Remember we trade W patterns in all kinds of trends, and the ones that work the best are in uptrends, in my opinion, that have the turn at the 50. The 30-minute high, I like that. XPEV also same sector, but no pattern there. So got interest in that. VXRT 996 gapping down. Ron, not it's a bearish gap, but I'm not sure what to do with that right now. Disney gapping up. That's a sloppy daily, possibly day trade 30-minute. Carvana, I think got an upgrade maybe. It's gapping resistance, John. It's gapping to a brick wall. I don't, you gotta wait. Greg's favorite shoes had a positive mention in Barron's. Their timing is way off on writing up, at least if you're a technician. This thing's gone from 75 to $100, and now you're talking positive about it. I think you're 2 weeks late on that article. IHG hotels, I don't think trades like the ADR. Pets, gapping down. And that's ugly downtrend. I don't know if that was earnings or what. All right, my X-ray alarm. X-ray, Kearney. These are both in the letter. They both look good. X-ray and Kearney. Wick, no pattern. Rambus had earnings. So it's bearish. It's at the bottom of the range. It's on support, but it's sure lagging. L, that's another churning uptrend with a powerful rising 20 above the 50. Wow, this thing's been in a free fall. Oh, and that's sure lagging. Estee Lauder getting whacked. No, nothing to do with it right now. CNA, no pattern, but strong. ADS alarm, that looks good. That's a bull 1, 2, 3. That was in the letter. Market's coming in here, so I'm not rushing into anything. Florida, if it can break out, that's worth watching, John. Let's watch 30-minute high on Florida. Adobe here I had as a M top. It's a short under Friday's low. FIBN, that was from Friday. That was a gapper trade for Friday. Glancing at the opens. Oh, MJ, marijuana was the cover story of Barron's. Look at that. This still cannot get off the mat. Tilray was gapping up nicely this morning, and now it's just getting sold into. This sector is tough. We have a put spread on this for Friday. And DXC, we're in from Friday. Cat is a bear 1, 2, 3. It's now a deeper tracement, 50%, but I'll leave it posted. If it triggers, it's bearish. Target, not bad at all. Not bad. It's rested, uptrend, rising 20. V top, bullish pre-market. It's not bad at all there, John. I'll watch it. I'm just not buying anything here with, mess we got going on. Spiders, diamonds. Diamonds are actually holding up the best. Use the weakest, as we knew. IWM, big total mess. So diamonds are the strongest one. Wow, the Dow 30. All 30 are green. Merck is flickering at break even, and everything else is green. Wow. Yeah, ANTM. That's a very strong stock. Daily, weekly, monthly, John. That's amazing strength. I'll put it on the list. Yeah, I think I read in Barron's also that um, they had like record inflows into mutual funds again. The cocaine party is continuing. Recent IPO here, EDR, a nice little gap up. So Tesla is weak. Well, I said weak, but down 850 is absolutely nothing on that daily bar. So it still looks fine. Airbnb alarm. We're doing a call spread on this. So that triggered call spread. Guilt even gave it a, yes, I was up $1 earlier. All right, Adobe, like I said, Friday's low is weak. Space was all over the news. They had a capsule come back last night, I think, seven pilots. And they also postponed their earnings or something like that, I read. Myrna was in the news. That's strong. Wow, is that all-time highs? Yeah. Wow, Myrna's the vaccine company, as you all know. There was an article in today's paper that said that a third of the nation has gotten a vaccine. I would have thought more than that, actually. Look at this thing, gap breakout of CGN. Trades wildly, but it's, has room on the weekly, monthly. Oh, Mara here, I posted 10-minute high. I posted a put spread, and now it's only 40 cents. It closed at $1, and I said, let's try to get the 75 cents, and I was just totally, guessing with that number. But this can be a swing also. 10-minute high. 10-minute high. This looks good. Mara. LI gave it up. Greg, you're still showing